you mentioned that there was some amount of teasing and, while you were growing up, owing to the fact that, now I want to know, was it owing to the fact that you were dark skinned, or, as in most countries, I don't even think that they understand the differences between being Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi. So was it because you were, you were perceived to be from Asia and therefore the other, or was it specifically because you were Hindu? And did you encounter, for want of a better word, racism because of your Hindu faith and the fact that you were so steadfast to it?
So there are two different parts of that. So, there wasn't that sophistication where people would be able to understand what Hindu is versus Indian. So like people confuse Hindi and Hindu all the time in the US, for example. So even at that time, I didn't recognize why it was that this was happening. But I noticed sometimes people would say, oh, you should speak Hindi or go back to where you come from, even though I never spoke Hindi like at all. I think a lot of that is just from being, brown skinned or Asian, or if you do well with your grades and things like that. So there's just kind of that targeted bullying of certain groups. The Hinduphobia, or the discrimination based on being Hindu, that actually, interestingly enough, came more from, I would say, the teachers. So most of my teachers were excellent. They were very good. But then I had, in high school, I had a teacher on ancient history who was teaching about Hinduism. This is one class out of the year, and he got like a lot of things wrong. And then when I raised my hand and said, no, it's not like, that's not how we think of it, he said, well, I read 3 books on Hinduism, so I know what I'm talking about. And like, who are you to challenge that? And so it's a very, I think nowadays maybe that wouldn't fly, but that was his tone then. And of course, we're raised to be very deferential to our teachers and respectful. And so I didn't have the wherewithal of how to respond to him. But that's where I kind of encountered that. Or I had like another teacher who would bring in like newspaper clippings, and sometimes there'd be something about India, like one of these kind of Temple of Doom type of articles, like, oh, look, in India, like this happened, like a flight crashed and the villagers garlanded the pilot, so they must have been like worshiping, like this kind of like very basic misunderstanding of what our cultural practices are and things like that. And they would read it in front of the class and people would laugh along. Or I had, someone brought in like their lunch. So they were Korean, right? So let's say they brought in kimchi, and then the teacher would say, oh, that must really stink. So these kinds of things, which, they really make an impact. So they may seem small or micro, but they actually leave a very deep and lasting impact.
Yeah.
And even when I was going through it, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't like go back home and say, like, say to my parents, like, can you believe this happened to me in school? It was just, oh, this is the way it is. And so not even questioning that until later.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.